All right, so you know you're here at the deep dive because you really want to get to the bottom of things.
Yeah.
And today we're diving deep into some arguments about a potential conflict between the U.S. and Iran.
Right.
We're going off of this text we have that really digs into one particular perspective.
Okay.
And our goal today is to just kind of pick it apart.
Yeah.
See what their main arguments are and what they think might happen, if things keep going the way they are.
Exactly. Break it down and see what the implications are.
Yeah, so right off the bat, this source is coming out swinging, saying that the U.S. and Israel pushing for war with Iran is actually like a recipe for disaster.
Wow.
It's like they're setting themselves up to fail.
Yeah, they're saying it's going to backfire big time.
Yeah, and the reason for that is they seem to think that the U.S. and Israel would just lose.
Huh.
They think that it would just be an unwinnable war.
Interesting. They don't really get into the details of how that would shake out. But that idea of an unwinnable situation is like the foundation of their whole argument.
Exactly. And it gets even scarier when they start talking about what it could do to the global economy.
Oh, yeah.
They're basically saying that if a war breaks out in the Persian Gulf, that could shut down businesses and factories all over the world.
Right, because the U.S. relies so much on cheap energy from that region.
Exactly.
So any disruption there would ripple through the entire global economy.
Right.
It's all connected. It's a globalized world.
Yeah, it could be really bad. Like, we're talking huge economic problems.
Yeah.
And even mass displacement of people.
Exactly. It's a domino effect.
And on top of all that, they're saying that the U.S. is losing credibility on the world stage.
Oh, really?
Like, they point to things like nuclear threats and tariffs and how that's pushing allies away. And they even say that, like, if the U.S. actually used a nuclear weapon, it would just completely shatter whatever trust is left.
Wow. So they're really concerned about how U.S. actions are affecting its reputation globally.
Yeah, for sure.
Because in the long run, that can really hurt their ability to get things done diplomatically.
Exactly.
If nobody trusts you, it's hard to negotiate or make deals or anything.
Now, here's where it gets kind of interesting.
Okay.
Because they claim that this push for war isn't really about, like, big strategic goals or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's about the agenda of certain individuals.
Oh, really?
Like, they specifically call out Netanyahu and his most hardcore Zionist supporters.
Interesting.
And they say that these people, they need a war. Like, it's something they need, even if it hurts Israel in the long run.
So their argument is that the motives of these specific people are actually kind of out of sync with what's best for the U.S. and Israel as a whole.
Yeah, they're saying that there's a disconnect there.
Wow.
And they don't stop there. They also go on about how the U.S. can't be trusted in negotiations. They say the U.S. changes its mind so often that its threats just don't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, I mean, if you keep changing your position, it's hard for people to take you seriously. It's like the boy who cried wolf,
Right, like even if Iran makes concessions, they're saying that the U.S. can't be trusted to hold up their end of the bargain.
Right, because who knows what they'll decide next week.
Exactly. So then they switch gears and talk about Iran's military capabilities.
Oh, okay.
And they paint this picture of a country that's, like, really tough to attack.
Huh.
Like, they've got strong missile defense and a whole arsenal of offensive missiles.
Like what kind?
Oh, they even mentioned anti-ship missiles that can reach like 2,200 kilometers.
Wow. That's a pretty big range.
Yeah, so they're basically saying that any U.S. airstrikes would be really risky and complicated.
So this source is definitely emphasizing the potential for things to go very wrong.
Yeah, for sure. And then there's the whole nuclear issue.
Right.
So they say that Iran's nuclear program is actually peaceful.
Okay.
And they point to this religious ruling called a fatwa.
A fatwa.
Yeah, it's basically a decree from a religious authority.
Okay.
And this fatwa forbids nuclear weapons. Plus, they bring up the fact that Iran suffered a lot from chemical weapons in the past, so they're sensitive to that whole issue.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so they're arguing that Iran has good reasons to avoid nuclear weapons.
Right.
But here's the catch. They also talk about this idea of a security blanket.
A security blanket? What's that?
It's the idea that even though Iran isn't actively building nukes right now, they've got the knowledge and the infrastructure to do it really quickly if they need to.
Oh, so they could weaponize quickly if they were attacked or something?
Exactly. And that's what they see as the real deterrent.
Interesting. So it's not that they have a weapon right now?
Right.
But they could have one very soon if they felt threatened.
Exactly.
That's their insurance policy.
So to sum it all up, this source is making a pretty strong case against a U.S.-Iran war.
Yeah.
They're saying that it would probably fail and lead to, like, global economic meltdown.
Right.
And they think it's all being driven by specific political agendas, not by like genuine national security concerns. And on top of that, they think the U.S. has lost credibility and Iran is actually in a strong defensive position.
With that security blanket of potential nuclear capability.
Exactly. So it's a really complex situation.
Yeah, it is. And based on all these arguments, what do you think are the key things to watch for? Like, if we want to understand how this situation is evolving, what are the signs we should be looking for?
Yeah. What should our listeners be paying attention to as this unfolds?
Because this is a really important issue with global consequences.
It really is.
So we need to stay informed.
Absolutely. All right. That's all the time we have for today.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you next time on The Deep Dive.